Alright, y'all. Yesterday we talked about the special right triangles. That's the 45, 45, 90 and the 30, 60, 90 triangles. So looking at the 45, 45, 90 triangle, we saw that if you just take the side opposite one of the 45-degree angles, just some number, that's going to be the same length as the other side opposite the other 45-degree angle. Okay? So just whatever that number is, it could be 2 or 2,000, whatever. Okay? And then that third side opposite the 90-degree angle, you could do the Pythagorean theorem, and every time, if you simplified the radical, you would just get that same number you started with the square root of 2 after it. Okay? The next one that we talked about was the 30, 60, 90. This one was a little bit uglier. And the thing you should always do, look for the side across from that 30-degree angle. Okay, especially in these word puzzles that we've been doing. So let's say that was just any number. Okay, that's what x is, any number. Okay? Well, the easy side that we could do is look for the hypotenuse. Now I know we only have one value, but the hypotenuse for these types of triangles always ends up just being twice that value. So if this was 5, then the hypotenuse would be 10. If this was 1,000, this would be 2,000. Sound okay? The last side is the weird one across from the 60-degree angle. That one, if you did the Pythagorean theorem backwards to find this leg length, would just be the number you started with the square root of 3 after it. The way I like to remember it is that for the 45, 45, 90, you only have 2 unique angle measures, so you have a square root of 2. For the 30, 60, 90, you have 3 unique angle measures, so you have a square root of 3. So, let's talk about this little problem here. The Great Spiral Challenge. So the thing about this challenge is, all of these are 30, 60, 90 right triangles. So they all follow that pattern that we just talked about. X, 2x, x root 3. So, looking at what we have first, we only have this 2 root 3, and we're looking for x, y, and z, so we've got a lot of work to do. Okay? So first off, if we have 2 root 3 across from the 60-degree angle, that makes it really easy for us to find our 30-degree angle side. Okay, so the side across from our 30-degree angle is what we should always look for first. And it's just whatever number that is times root 3 gives us the side across from the 60-degree angle. So kind of nice and neat, since this is 2 root 3, the side across from the 30-degree angle is just 2. Not so bad, right? So now we're good with the 2 root 3. We've got our 2 across from the 30. And now really easily, the side across from the 30 is half the length of the hypotenuse. So we could take this 2 and double it to get 4. Not so bad, right? And now we're done with one of our triangles. So now here's the deal. We've got a 4 as both of our hypotenuse, but also it's a leg for this new triangle because they all share these sides. And that 4 is across from the 60-degree angle again. And so what we should really be doing is looking for the 30-degree measure, because we know that 30-degree measure, if we multiply it by the square root of 3, it'll give us this side length. Now the weird thing is here, whatever this number is, times the square root of 3 gave us 4. Okay? Ignore that 2 turning red again. I don't know why it turned red, and I'm not going to fix that. So what you would do is, to solve for x, divide both sides by the square root of 3. So you would have 4 divided by the square root of 3. But we don't like 4 divided by the square root of 3. We need the denominator to be rational, not a square root type of number. So, multiply the top and bottom of that fraction by the square root of 3. On top you get 4 times the square root of 3, and that can't simplify. On the bottom, the square root of 3 times the other square root of 3 becomes just 3. So you get 4 root 3 over 3. That's hideous. And that's okay. Because it's easy to jump to our next part, because this 4 root 3 over 3 is the side across from our 30-degree angle. So to find our hypotenuse for this second triangle, we would just double this number. Well, to double it, all you really do is double the 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So you have 8 root 3 over 3. And 4 root 3 over 3 happen to be x, so that's one of our answers. So next up, we have 8 root 3 over 3 across from a 60-degree angle. We want to find the side across from the 30-degree angle. We know whatever this is down here, if you multiply it by the square root of 3, it'll give you the number that I have in red here. Well, what's really nice is since this number already has a square root of 3 in it, the number down here across from the 30-degree angle is just 8 divided by 3, 8/3. Okay? That's actually kind of easy and not so ugly anymore, right? So once you get from there, to get this next hypotenuse, remember the hypotenuse is twice the length of the side across from the 30-degree angle. So we're going to double 8/3. Now to double 8/3, you just multiply it by 2 or 2 over 1. That gives you 8 times 2 is 16, 3 on the bottom. You get 16/3. Now we are in our fourth of 6 triangles. We want the side across from the 30-degree angle, always, always, always. To get that side across from the 30-degree angle, we know that whatever this number is, which is y for this problem, y times the square root of 3 gave us 16 over 3. That's kind of ugly. What you're going to do is divide both sides by the square root of 3. That would give you 16 over 3 root 3. You don't want the square root of 3 on the bottom. So out here to the side, you would write root 3 divided by root 3. On top of the fraction, you'd have 16 times the square root of 3. On the bottom, you would have 3 times root 3 times root 3. Now, root 3 times root 3 is just 3. And 3 times that is 9. So you get 16 root 3 over 9. And now it's ugly again. Okay? But our next part's not so ugly. Because now that we have the side across from the 30-degree angle, we can find the hypotenuse really, really easily by doubling the 16 and the 16 only. 16 times 2 is 32. So we have 32 root 3 over 9. Okay, into our fifth triangle. We have this length, which happens to be across from the 60-degree angle again. But what's nice about this length is it has a square root of 3 built into it. So to get the side across from the 30-degree angle, we just take the 32 over 9 and leave that root 3 by itself. Now that we have the side across from the 30-degree angle, double it to get the hypotenuse. All you double is the 32, not the 9. 32 times 2 is 64, and you keep the over 9 with it. Okay, we are in our sixth triangle, the last one. And Z is the last length that we want. And Z is also the side across from the 30-degree angle. So we really need to figure out what Z is. And we know that if 64 over 9 is across from the 60-degree angle, that whatever Z is, that number times the square root of 3 gives us 64 over 9. So we can set up another equation where Z root 3 equals 64 over 9. You're going to divide both sides by the square root of 3 to get 64 over 9 root 3. Can't have the root 3 on the bottom, so you're going to rationalize the denominator. You'll get 64 root 3 over 9 root 3 root 3. Now the root 3 and root 3 just become 3, and 9 times 3 is 27. So your answer for Z is 64 root 3 over 27. My lord. Okay, we are pretty much done with this. You found x, y, and z, okay? But we could find this last length up here, because if we know what the side across from the 30-degree angle is, we know that this last length, which is across from the 90-degree angle, aka the hypotenuse, will just be double this number. So we're going to take 64, we're going to double it, we're going to leave the root 3 and the 27 alone. 64 times 2 is 128. So that last side is 128 root 3 over 27. Boom, that's done. Okay? Not so bad. Okay, I get it. It's like really ugly. It's not bad. It's just ugly. Okay? But you survived. Okay, y'all. So what happens next? We're going to take a break, about 5-ish minutes outside the theater area. Make sure you're quiet in the hallways. Come back whenever the sub tells you to. Then you're going to get in some groups. I'll show you what the groups are in just a second to work on some special right triangles. That will be printed on some pink paper. I need y'all to not write on this so that other classes can use it. Okay? Just do your work on a separate sheet of paper. I will have an answer key posted on the board. You should use that to check your answers like you always do or help guide you through some of the more difficult problems. After that, whenever your group finishes, you may begin the quiz. The quiz is printed on the purple paper. You can write on that. Okay? Here's your first period groups. Pause the video if you need. Here's your third period groups. Pause the video if you need. And here are your fourth period groups. And Alexis, I'm sorry that your name is underlined as misspelled. I know that's how you spell your name. The computer is not. So, that's it. Okay, so go ahead and take your break. Make sure you are quiet and respectful in the hallways. When you come back, get into these groups. You can rewind the video to pause them on that page as you need. And then work on that. Finish it up, check your answers, make sure they're right. If you cannot figure one out, just put a little star beside it and we'll talk about it on Monday, because I intend to go back over this on Monday and then take the quiz. Okay? Thank you very much.